So immediately I see a big bodied deer. So my and I know it's a buck. My first reaction is this is a shooter. So I'm already like instinctively I'm already reaching for my bow. But then I'm looking at his rack and I'm like, this deer, it's not proportionate. This is a tiny rack. And all of his tines were only about that tall.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down. Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. I'm Sam, your podcast host this week. Our podcast is driven by Ridge Rock Hunt Company, and I'll talk more about them later at the end of our episode. We are in deer camp this week here on Texas Dirt. I'm podcasting this afternoon with my dad, Mark. Welcome back.
Thank you. Hello, Fall Obsession Nation. Good to be back with you.
Yeah, always a good time to sit in deer camp and hang out. If you guys are watching the podcast video, obviously, it's a different look, like it always is for us, it seems like, on our podcast. But we're virtual here. We don't have our big mics, our big setup. We're using the lapels, so hopefully the audio and everything's good for you guys. But wanted to come to y'all and kind of talk about an update just on the season where we just started rifle season here in Texas yesterday. And bow season has been open for a little over a month now. So we're well into the year and kicking off the general season, and wanted to kind of give you guys an update. I know we got some episodes in the editing room from our Texas Dirt series that'll show you guys kind of where we're at right now on this property in video form. But me and Nick have talked bits and pieces about what we're doing out here, but we've never actually sat down and gone through in depth everything that we've done to try and improve this property and prepare ourselves for year two, to make year two better than year number one was. Because last year was, for returning followers, returning viewers, as they know, last year was limited on setups. You saw me hunt the same stand episode after episode after episode. Plenty of deer to see for sure, but probably should have taken some bucks that I passed on, but we won't talk about that part. But we've done a lot of work out here this year to add some setups. We've had some challenges. The cows have proven difficult over the summer and everything, and made for some work days where we just felt like we were repeating our work just about. But here we are. General season is open, and we're off and running with it. So where are you at right now with kind of your head out here and your mentality as far as the setups we have, the opportunities we have, and some of the dynamics that have changed?
Well, I think last year, as Sam said, we hunted the same stands, and I had one stand to hunt. So every time I'm out here hunting the same stand. So we've added some stands, more than doubled our stands that we had, which gives us a new look and new options. I know we're going at the evening to hunt in a little while here, and because of the way the wind's blowing today, we have an option now. It's not just going to the only stand we have. We have an option that the wind's going to bust us on these two stands, so we're not going to hunt those. We're going to hunt something different. So I think the options like that have been greatly increased. And I'm glad for that. It's nice to look something. I'll be looking at something brand new tonight that I hadn't looked at before. Yeah. Which is good and bad. I mean, it's bad in the sense that when you've been out there, you know everything's, you know the setup and what's out in the landscape. And if something's different, just like a deer, you'll notice it. So the good thing is, hopefully, we have some opportunity. I know this morning I saw a deer at first light, just barely could make it out, and it was gone. And I don't know if it was a buck or doe, but I know I'm on the south end of the property. And for those who don't know, we have about 800 acres out here that we're hunting. So there's a north end and the south end, and most of the bow hunting goes up in the north. No, in the south. In the south end, and we have some gun setups on the other side of the property. So But you've been seeing lots of hogs, and I know you killed a hog last night. We'll talk about that later. But you've been seeing hogs and deer, and I've seen a few deer, but I'm going to hunt more toward the south end tonight just because it seems like that's where the density of animals are.
Yeah. And it's interesting right now just because we've the numbers of deer we've seen, and when I talk about we've seen, we're talking about on our spy point cameras that we're watching these deer on for the most part. Obviously, that only covers a select area that you're looking at right there, but we've seen a lot of does. Earlier in the year, we had some decent bucks on camera, and then it seemed like when the cows came through and just almost all at once wrecked out a bunch of setups, that's when the bucks kind of fell back. And simultaneously, close to the same time, the drought that we were in somewhat ended, which it's also kind of interesting, the dynamics hunting after a drought like we've had, because I know we've talked about putting food plots and stuff out here and that kind of stuff, but you're after like this year wouldn't have stood a chance.
It's a waste of money.
Yeah, been a waste of money. So that being said, we had to continue to do the whole feeders and corn and everything like that, which the mature bucks, we were seeing them move and respond to those, like in July and August, they were responding to those feeders. They were coming in regularly. It was a reliable food source because of the drought. But as soon as we got rain relatively simultaneous to the cows tearing everything up, the matured bucks were out of there, and all we were seeing were does and maybe a young buck every now and then. Now that we're transitioning into later fall, the rut is starting to maybe kind of kick in a little bit. I know you and I haven't witnessed any activity yet. Nick's dad, Robbie, was out here opening weekend with us.
Yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday he witnessed a couple scenarios of some rut-like activity from some of his stands.
And we talked to a guy when we were in a big box store buying some supplies today, and he was buying steaks because there was some wind out here, and he said my blind got blown over, and we got to talking to him in the aisle of this big box store and asked him about what he had seen, and he mentioned that they were chasing.
Yeah,
the rut was happening where he is out here.
Yeah, he owns a property not too far from us, it seems like, and yeah, he said that he had seen some activity. So the rut's starting to kick in. It's still warmer than I would like for this time of year, but I know Robbie's been talking about some more mature deer that he started seeing, and then I had an encounter yesterday with the deer that needs to be shot, and our Texas dirt followers are probably like, please don't pass on another buck. Please don't pass on another buck. But
not a quality buck.
This was not a greed thing for Sam in passing on this deer. I was hunting yesterday evening in my bow blind because that was where the wind was right for, and I was looking out the right hand side of my blind, checking that window, and I looked back to my left, and boom, there he is cruising, and he's already out in front of me at this point. It's like, oh my goodness, where'd that thing come from?
What it looked like?
So immediately I see a big bodied deer. So my and I know it's a buck. My first reaction is this is a shooter. So I'm already instinctively I'm already reaching for my bow, but then I'm looking at his rack and I'm like, this deer is not proportionate. This is a tiny rack, and all of his tines were only about that tall. They're like maybe the tallest tine was 6 inches, like very short and stubby deer, and he's just cruising steady pace from left to right, about 20-25 yards out from me. So I'm reaching for my bow. I'm trying to get the camera going all at the same time and get set and everything. And at one point he stops and he looks at me, and that's when I see how wide he is, and he's right at his ears in the split second that I saw, which in Texas is kind of how we judge not a mature deer, but a legal deer, because in our county, we're in an antler restriction county, which means that the mature deer that we kill has to have an inside spread of 13 inches or greater. And if you're not from this area and you're not familiar with that rule, you're probably like, well, how in the world are you going to know if a deer is 13 inches inside spread? Obviously, we don't have a tape measure out there. We can't measure them before we kill them, but we do our best to judge by their ears, because the state has basically come out and said, hey, use their ears, the width of their ears as kind of your judgment. If they're at their ears or outside, then it's going to be more than 13 inches. Right. It's like, okay.
Be legal.
And this buck was right there at the tips of his ears. So the whole time that just kind of stumped me, because I had, wanting to kill a legal deer, I had that moment of hesitation and like, is he wide enough for for me to shoot.
Right.
And again, he turns his head and just goes right back to cruising. And I'm trying to get the camera in Texas dirt. You'll see I got a small snippet of him on camera as he was walking away. But at this point, he's off to my right, which I'm a right-handed shooter. So for a bow, he's past the point of me being able to turn to my right and actually draw and take a shot at this point. So he got a free pass. I would like to, and again, not trying to be the greedy Sam from Texas Dirt, but I would like to have another look at this deer's inside spread before I make a call, not on if he's mature enough to shoot. I have no doubt he's a mature deer and a cull buck that needs to be shot. I just want to make sure that he's a legal deer before I take a shot at him. So, but that was exciting to be able to see a buck like that, because I definitely wasn't expecting it. Like, turned around, startled me. I've only seen does and small bucks all year so far. I've yet to see a mature deer. So to turn and to see that big of a body standing there is like 20 yards away. Is like, oh my word, where did that come from?
Right.
So.
Right. And Robbie's seen a lot of, bucks. I mean, I saw 2 or 3 yesterday, but they're not legal here in Texas because the inside there, the basket rack, so it's not 13 inches out. And, and I saw yesterday a full point come out about 5 o'clock, 5:15, and, just kind of milled around for a while, and, lots of shots on it, but not legal. So if I shoot him, I'm going to pay a huge fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Not trying to be greedy or anything like that. I want to make sure that I kill one illegal deer, but then I've kind of had my mindset on, I want to see if the rut brings in any bucks that we haven't seen yet, just because last year it did. Last year rut and somewhat post rut, we started seeing bucks that we hadn't seen before. Right. So I'm hopeful that's probably my best chance of getting a crack at a nice buck this year. Right. Other than that, if I see a cull buck like this and I can confirm that he's a legal deer, there's no reason I shouldn't take a shot at him, because it does seem like, and Nick and I have talked about this, it does seem like we have a lot of cull bucks out here this year, a lot of 7 and 8 points that are more mature, just not real big in the horns and just need to be shot.
Yeah, so. I saw last night, right at last light, I saw a deer come into in where I was hunting, and I thought it was a doe. I mean, I thought it was a yearling. It was so short. I got to looking at it real close through my scope, and it's an 8 point with a basket rack, but it's just a really small body deer. And I'm thinking, man, that's a cull, that's a cull buck, but you can't shoot it because it doesn't have the 13-inch spread. You'd be, and it's 8 points. So
yeah. Well, I mean, you told me he was shorter than the T-post.
Yeah, that driven into the ground, and it's like I've never seen one that small.
Yeah,
but obviously mature because he's got a rack on him, and so.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so tonight we've added these setups. Some of them have blinds on them. Some of them we've built our own makeshift cover.
Brush in a blind, basically.
Brush in blinds on them. What's the setup like that you're hunting tonight?
Tonight, my setup is it's built for an evening stand primarily. It faces east. I'm probably 65 yards out from the food plot, or from the feeder. We brushed it in. I've not hunted this place before, but this is where Todd killed his hog, and you killed a piglet. And you said you saw some does up there last time you hunted it.
I've only hunted it twice. The time I hunted it in the morning, there was it was pouring down rain, and I didn't see anything, and I don't really chalk that up to there's no deer there. It was just the weather was bad. And the other time that I hunted it was an evening sit, and it was right toward last light that 5 does came out of the mesquite thicket just north of the feeder. Right. I was bow hunting, so it was out of bow range, but there's definitely deer in that area for sure.
So we went in this afternoon. We went in and checked the feeder, make sure it's tightened up the wire around the feeder, and then made sure the feeder was full and had at least corn in it, and I brushed in the blinds, so I'm camouflaged. So we'll see how that works. Like I said, it'll be something new. I've not hunted that stand, so I always look forward to hunting something brand new. See what might happen. And like I said, where I'm hunting on the south end, I'm not seeing much activity. So
And one thing that I've definitely, when choosing my stands, that I've had to kind of readjust back into, because like you mentioned last year, we both just had one stand. So that's where we hunted if we were out here. It seemed like, I think once or twice last year, I went and found a little spot, just some random place to brush myself in just to look at something different, see if I saw anything. But so one thing I've had to readjust to is hunting the wind a lot more diligently. Last time I was out here, I learned that the hard way, that if the wind at all is questionable in my ladder stand, that I shouldn't hunt it because I'm going to get winded. And then this morning I had reaffirmation of that, because I was like, it's going to be relatively calm down that bottom. The wind might be swirling a little bit. I'll give it a shot. And wind swirled, of course, blew the doe out of there before I could get a shot. So reaffirmed for me that only if I have a north wind can I hunt that ladder stand. So with the south-southwest wind that we have this evening, it's
perfect.
It's perfect for my bow blind that I hunted all of last year. So that's where I'll be back again. And again, that's also where I realized that blind is the only blind that I have that faces the south.
Right.
All of the other stands that we have face north or east,
and
well, except for yours faces south as well.
Well, that'll hurt us in the winter, because the wind comes out of the north primarily in the winter time, so we'll be looking right into the wind, which will be good for the wind, in our face, but it'll be cold.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when it's freezing cold, I might not want to be in a tree anyway. Yeah.
Well, you hunted that ground blind last night. What happened there?
So I had that encounter with the buck that I just talked about, and then it was, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes after that buck came out that I saw a pig coming through the brush and stepped out in front of me, and it was Skunk. I named this pig Skunk after I started getting trail cam photos of him, because he has these unique white stripes on either side of his face and that go down his body. It's just kind of a unique looking pig, just a little 120-pound boar, nothing, no hogzilla like last time.
Yeah.
But he came in and immediately, and I get trail cam pictures of this pig literally every single day.
You got it, especially when even when it's raining.
Yes, I have a picture of him when it's raining, just camped out, like laying down in a mud puddle underneath the feeder. Just, this pig won't leave.
With his mouth open.
Yeah, he eats all the corn. Just he's a freeloader is all he is. So as soon as I saw him walking in, I was like, oh yes, I finally get a crack at this thing. And he came in, and he did not just beeline it to the feeder. Like, he came in and he stopped, and he was looking straight ahead of him, which is to my left, toward the feeder, and he just stops and he looks. So I'm thinking, is there a deer or another pig or something else that's got his attention? I'm looking, I'm not seeing anything. And he's just far enough to the right that, again, me being a right-handed shooter, it's hard for me to adjust over that far. So I wait till he takes a few more steps, and then I'm getting my bow, I'm getting set, I'm getting ready to draw back, and then he happens to stop again. And I'm like, all right, that's it. And the challenge of self-filming, I felt like yesterday, after I only got a snippet of the buck on camera, and then after this, I felt like I was a horrible producer yesterday for Texas Dirt. But I like, while that pig stands still and looking the other way, I'm getting the camera adjusted. I have it right on him. I have him in the frame. And then as soon as he started moving into my shot window, I completely forgot about the camera, and he walked just outside the frame when I take the shot. So I didn't get the kill shot on camera, but
you killed him.
Yeah, shot him. And again, I'm laying it all out there. I have another bad habit, and I told you this last night out there when blood trailing, where I will watch when I shoot an animal the last place that they go in the woods, like every hunter is taught. And then I will go and find blood. I'll go to the site of impact, and I'll find a little bit of blood, and I'll be like, oh, I hit him. All right, I found my arrow. Oh, all right, good blood. And I just take off into the woods to that last spot that I saw him. Well, I've also found that I am apparently not the best at remembering the last spot that I saw him, so I end up wasting about 15 minutes just wandering around the woods. I did that with Hogzilla. I didn't have to do that with my doe because I watched her go down. I knew where she was laying. And then I did it with this pig. So I ended up having to go back, find blood, found blood. It was a pretty sparse blood trail for the first 30, 40 yards, and then it opened up. It was easy after that, and I found the pig, of course, not in the area that I thought it was and where I started my search. So I need to do better about just staying on the blood trail from the get-go and not getting excited. So,
I know. I said there, I hoofed it into the main road, and I texted him. I said, I'm at the junction here at the main road, and he said, I'll be there in a few minutes. And I'm going, half hour later, I'm going, okay, where is it? Then I see your headlights coming down the road. It's like, oh, here he comes.
Yeah. You texted me that right after I had found him, and I was like, I'm not driving all the way back out there and then bringing Dad back here just to get a 120-pound pig. I couldn't drag this thing out by myself. It took a minute. So, but we got it done. So,
and looking to the future. I mean, I know you've got a lot of new watchers, listeners to the podcast. Since being on Carbon TV, and we appreciate that. As you have said many times, and maybe they've heard you say it, but we're blue collar hunters, so everything we get, we pay for. So we've got to save our money just like anybody else. Whether to pay for the lease or to buy camel burlap or whatever. But I think you and I were talking as we were going through stands today, about gosh, this whole area is not even hunted. There's 80 acres here northwest of us, 80 acres that are just heavy mesquite, and I bet there's things hiding in there or hunkered down in there, and I've never walked back in there. So there are future places even today I said they're on the north end of the property. I said, man, there's nothing hunting right here. So
this property, just over 800 acres, we currently, between us and Nick's family, we have 8 stand setups on 800 acres.
Mm-hmm.
The way that this property is laid out, and if we build it right, this place could easily sustain, in my opinion, 15 stands, possibly 20, if it was just right. But I'll start with 12, 15. But it could easily sustain that. It just takes the work of yes, there's 80 acres of mesquite thicket north of camp here.
Right.
Unhunted, untouched.
Right.
But you just got to go in there and make a path and put something up. Because again, in Texas, it's not quite like some of these northern states where you have to hunt trails, you have to hunt junctions and stuff. You can do that here. We are allowed to bait in Texas, which I know that's, for some people, they might not look at that as fair. But again, this is just the environment we hunt, and this is how hunting is down here.
Right.
Is what it boils down to. It's not a matter of us trying to be unfair to animals or anything. This is just how you hunt down here in Texas.
Right.
So for us, it's more of a mentality, and we learned this last year. I know I've said this before. We learned that if you build it, they will come. Mm-hmm. We spent a lot of time moving cameras around last year trying to figure out where the deer are, and we came to the conclusion the deer are everywhere. We just got to put something in for them to make a hub and them to come to.
Right.
And every stand that we've put into so far has shown that if you build it, they're going to come to it.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of potential, a lot of unhunted areas. We probably a half dozen times today, like you said, we were driving around and you'd ask me, you're like, where's that road go? What's over there? I'm like,
all right, let's go look at that tree. We're going to put a camera on that. There's a taller tree that seems like it's straight.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I'm bummed about as a bow hunter, because I love being up in a tree. I'll pick a tree stand over a ground blind any day unless it's pouring down rain on me.
Right.
And yeah, that's one thing I'm bummed about is I only have one tree stand, because that's the only tree that I have found that I can make a setup work with the terrain, the trails, the feeder placement, all that kind of stuff. So you pointed that out, that tree, which it's taller than this short scrub brush we have, but
we'll check it out.
It may or may not work. We'll probably put a card pull camera just on that creek bed that it's on, just to see if there's any traffic that comes through that creek bed. I imagine there probably is. So,
and again, we also think putting up something like tripod or something up in the air for even gun hunter, 10 foot up is going to be a great help. To be up in the air and to be able to see longer later. And I like on that north end of the property, we're talking about that corner to put it on, because then you almost have a 360 view.
Yeah, there's one stand. We have the feeder up. You guys saw us on Texas Dirt put it up. and we have since put one of those brush-in blinds for bow hunting off of that feeder. It's only good for a north when you have a north wind.
Right.
It's a north-facing stand, but behind it, the hill goes up a little bit, and there's mesquites and scrub brush right there. But then, probably 80 yards behind it, there's a power line, and if we can put a tripod basically in the corner in those mesquites off that power line, you can look up and down the power line both ways. There's a little clearing behind it, and you can see down the hill into that feeder. Mm-hmm. It has the potential to be a good spot, and I think in the future probably more tripods, at least for the rifle hunting standpoint, are in our future out here, because these mesquite trees, they're only 10 feet tall across the property. You get up above them, out a little ways, put a feeder in, cut a couple shooting lanes, and you're good to go. Mm-hmm. So,
and again, that's futuristically as we think about the days ahead and years ahead. But that comes as you make money to be able to do that. So
yeah, and to your point, with us being blue collar guys, we yes, Fall Obsession has partners and sponsors mostly in the gear standpoint and the gear area. We are grateful for our partnership with Vapple. They give us, we run Vapple products out here on the Texas dirt property, and we see results from them. So we do have that. But like you said, the other things, the feeders, the stands, the fuel to get out here, the deer corn that we bought today, cameras, trail cameras. Yes, we love our spy points, but we're not sponsored by them, even though we pretty much exclusively use them out here. Mm-hmm. All that stuff is stuff that we've paid for out of our own pockets. So we feel the pain of diesel prices going up. We feel the pain of deer corn being more expensive, almost double what it was 2 years ago this time. So we're right there with the rest of everybody, and just we're trying to make it work. And like you said, just the drought, and then combined with the fact we'd be wasting money if we try to do food plots this year. That's why food plots didn't happen this year.
And we're we're just trying to fill our freezers. I mean, that's be honest about it. We just try to we what we kill, we eat. So
yeah, we're trying to stack up the venison and everything, and fill our tags. Mm-hmm. So I got to get a new freezer.
Because the old one's went bad.
Yeah, not
because you just got so much to put in.
No, we have two freezers, and one is supposed to be my my deer killing freezer, and the other is my wife's auxiliary freezer for all of her other things, and all her baking stuff and everything. And the chest freezer, which was my deer freezer, went out over the summer. So thankfully there was nothing in it, but I got to get a new one now. Only got about room for one more deer before I need a new freezer. So
right.
But anything else you want to cover on this place?
No, that's about it. We're getting ready to go hunting a little while here.
Yeah.
Hopefully have a dual kill tonight.
Yeah. Here in about 45 minutes or so, we'll be heading back out and getting ready to, like you said, hopefully double up tonight. So for our listeners, thank you all for listening. We wanted to just give you guys a little update from deer camp here from Texas Dirt, kind of just where we're at on this property. And again, go into some detail over how our mindsets have changed over a few things, and encourage you guys to watch these upcoming episodes of Texas Dirt that we're going to have rolling out here shortly, to get caught up on where we're at right now, and also see with your own eyes some of the stuff that we're doing. And then we're also including our hunts in that series as well, or at least mine. I'm self-filming out here this year, so you'll get to see the Hogzilla hunt. Will be the first one, I think, in episode 5 or 6 or something like that, and that'll be followed by my doe hunt, and then my poor attempt at filming my pig hunt. Hopefully I'm better on the camera tonight. But thank you guys for listening to the podcast, for watching the video, whatever you might be doing. If you have not already, head on over to your social media pages with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, your Go Wild account, and follow Fall Obsession. We are on all the major social media platforms like that, and doing our best to post daily, beneficial, educational, quality hunting content for you guys. And again, we're an organization built up of blue collar outdoorsmen and women. So the stuff you're going to see on there is relevant to you guys and where you hunt. YouTube channel. Go check it out. We're posting weekly on there with multiple new videos and everything. Trying to get that ramped up and stuff. Our podcast videos are on there, all of our media series, that kind of stuff. Whatever podcast app you're streaming on, be sure that you follow and subscribe on there. We're on all major podcast streaming networks, as well as Carbon TV and Waypoint TV. So be sure that you go check us out on there. Our Texas Dirt series and our Couch Chat series are also on Carbon TV as video series on there. Fallobsession.com is our website. That's the hub. That's where you guys can go to find all of our content. We cover hundreds of different topics at this point in the hunting and outdoor industry. All of our media series are on there, our podcast, gear reviews, educational videos and articles, wild game recipes, and more. Just go on there, explore, see if there's something that fits y'all's needs. Pick up some apparel while you're there. I do have some of our blackout hoodies and some beanies in stock right now as the weather's turning cold. So be sure that you head over there and check those out, pick you up some. And finally, Ridge Rock Hunt Company is the podcast partner. Derek and Lacey over there in Mississippi. They book hunts with vetted, trusted outfitters across the country. Derek takes a lot of pride in making sure that his clients are set up with the kind of experience that they're looking for with an outfitter that fits their time frame, their budget, all that good stuff. Give them a call. Just talk to them on the phone. You'll feel like you've known them forever. After one conversation, they're good people over there, and they'll take good care of you. So Ridge Rock Hunt Company, go check him out. Be sure that you watch podcast video number 123 as well.
Crocodile.
Yeah, he recaps his alligator hunt with me, and then he goes and on the podcast video while we're recording, he goes and pulls out the head out of the freezer, and it's incredible to see the size of that thing. But then it's also just one of the most funniest moments we've had on the podcast. It was really awesome. So go check out podcast video 123. So. All right, guys. Thank you all for listening, watching, and we'll be back again next Monday, as always, for another Fall Obsession podcast episode. Catch you then.